guys, welcome to today's video. I'm very glad to be here today. I want to talk to you about secrets and tips on how to learn English or any other languages, but I'm more qualified on the English language than any others, so that's why I'm going to give you tips and secrets for learning it. This is only my second video, but I'm going to film one and post one every Wednesday. So make sure to be here. You can subscribe, comment, like, and turn on the notifications if you don't want to miss a Wednesday with me. If you don't know, I'm not a native speaker, so that means that English is not my first language. My first language is French, so I live in France and I'm French. Just like you, I don't live in an English-speaking country. So how did I study English and master the English language? So the first thing that I want you to realize is that school is not the only thing to learn English, and it's not the only thing, and it's not the only good thing. So you can't really learn a language only with school. School is good for a lot of things, but that's from experience. When you travel and you try to speak English with the English you learned at school, then you're like, I don't know, I don't understand, I'm lost. And that's because what you study at school is good, but it's very general and it's a lot of grammar, which is perfect. I mean, you need grammar to make sentences, but you don't really learn slang, you don't really learn other options than hello, how are you? And you have tons of other options, I promise you. You don't really learn phrasal verbs, you don't really learn like things that people actually use and native people actually use. So that's why you need school, it's like the base, but if you want to learn a language like English, you need to learn on your own and to do a lot of things on your own. And I mean, learning on your own is like only the good thing. So you study the difficult things at school, like grammar, like the irregular verbs, but then at home you have lots of things that you can actually do. So my first advice for you is to set goals, not long terms, short terms, okay? If you think like in 1 year I want to be this, or I'd like to have this level, in my opinion it's too long. It's good if you have a deadline though, like if you have an exam or a job interview, short or long term, that's quite good because it's your deadline, you know you have zero option, no choice. But otherwise, I would suggest you have short-term goals like weekly or monthly. For example, what I did is I used to have like a notebook, and I still do, like these notebooks for example, and what I did is I used to write words, vocabulary, but not only words like expressions or sentences, because examples are the best to learn vocabulary. So I would take my notebook, and usually if it's cute, it helps. And I would write the words and say in 1 week, so by the end of this week, for example, I want to remember 5 words. Not too many, okay? If you have too many words and you don't live in an English-speaking country, you need to think, when am I going to practice them? So you need to do that every week. So maybe week 1 could be words, week 2 could be expressions, and week 3 could be phrasal verbs, and the last week of the month could be words again. So in 1 month you have 10 proper words of vocabulary, you have 5 expressions or idioms, and 5 phrasal verbs. Can you imagine at the end of the year? That's like huge. And you need to make sure that you remember them, so you need to read them again and again during the week. I would suggest like maybe 5 minutes a day. So like when you take your coffee break, just take your page and read the 5 words. It takes like 5 minutes or less, and I promise you that's like one of the best things to do. Okay, moving on. Another advice for you is to find someone to speak with. So it could be a friend. Maybe you have a friend who wants to learn English too. So say, okay, we need to call each other more often and we need to speak English. So maybe every Saturday morning you call your friend for an hour and you just discuss and try to discuss in English. I do that with one of my friends who's from Italy, and we met in England, and we tried to Skype or FaceTime a couple of times. It's always difficult with schedules, of course, but it's great and it's a good advice to practice English. If you don't have a friend around that wants to speak English, You can actually find people on Facebook, WhatsApp groups or Instagram. I mean, you have lots of things now online and a lot of people want to practice. So just find someone who you think you have the same interest with and just try to speak to them. So at first it's going to be like introduction, but that's great because that's the base. So how do you introduce yourself? And that's actually one of my future posts on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram yet, I suggest that you do that. So you can check my introduction post in a couple of days. Now, something that I used to do that is also quite useful, I used to listen to a lot of songs. So, for example, the songs I loved and that I thought I knew the lyrics, but you know when you sing you're like rah 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 and you don't really know what to say and how to say the words. So I would like Google the lyrics and then you can follow the lyrics and you can actually check the vocabulary or pronunciation. It's actually great for vocabulary in context. You know, for example, you're going to listen to songs about a party or about love or about breakup, about jobs, about, I don't know, motivation, you know, things like that. So it's going to be the same context and that's great to remember words. And after when you sing the songs with your friends, you're actually like the best one. So that's something to bear in mind. Now, I've given you a couple of examples and tips on how to incorporate English into your life, and that's, I would say, my most important advice. So you don't have the exposure you need when you don't live in an English-speaking country. So you need to fake it until you make it. That's the expression. So you need to use songs, you need to use podcasts, you need to use Facebook groups. You can use YouTube, you can use Instagram, you can watch the news. You have Netflix. Netflix now is amazing. I don't know why people don't actually know like 2 or 3 languages because you have Netflix, so I think it's much more easier. And by the way, I'm going to try to learn Spanish again this summer. If you have good Spanish series, you can comment down below because I will need them for sure. So yeah, you need to incorporate English into your day. So that means every day do something in English. So 10 minutes or an hour or 2 hours if you like. The more hours you put and the more work you put into it, the better you're going to get, of course. So for example, of course I teach English, so I use English every day, but I also turned my phone language into English. I watch the BBC News almost every day. I watch Netflix almost every night. I know, talk about having a social life. I'm trying to think about like my routine. Oh, I also read books in English. If you look at my shelf here, I have I have some books in English. It takes time for me because I watch a lot of Netflix at night and I don't have time to read during the day, but when I do, I love to read a good book in English and I buy them when I travel because that's something I love to. This year, I haven't traveled yet because of the virus and the situation and I feel like it's been ages I haven't traveled. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I will be able to go to Scotland at the end of the year. I buy my books there, so in English-speaking countries, in England or Ireland or Scotland, because the price is cheaper. You can buy them on Amazon, but I just enjoy going to the bookstore there and just like having like the good vibe of the British libraries. And if you have the money, of course, as I said, travel as much as possible. Travels is just the most amazing thing in life for me, and the more you travel, the more you're going to practice with other, not only natives, but also other accents from other nationalities. Now, my last advice for you, which I think is also one of the most important one, is probably if you have an important deadline or event, like a job interview, an exam, or you just like, you know, at that date, if I don't speak English, I will probably lose my motivation. Then it's probably a good thing that you invest in yourself. So maybe buy more books, maybe get a teacher, because if you have someone to correct you and to give you like tips all the time, give you the proper readings, the proper listenings for your levels, then you're going to improve more quickly, of course. And maybe it's going to motivate you to learn more and more because someone is going to tell you, oh yeah, that's great, you're making progress, that's amazing. Do you remember from the first lesson, your pronunciation wasn't great, but now it's good, it's improving. So maybe if you need this kind of motivation to push you, I mean, just go for it. It's just an investment, just like sports. You probably go to the gym or you have different activities. That's exactly the same. The more you practice, the better you're going to be at it. And if you have a coach that is pushing you and who is behind you all the time, then your results are going to be, of course, better. So if you need that, I mean, take the time and take the money for it. That's it, guys, for my tips and secrets. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe. That's important for me to know that you're enjoying these videos. And if you have any recommendations, anything you'd like to know or to see in my videos every Wednesday, remember, then just comment and tell me. Okay, bye guys, thanks for watching.